This is a good movie podcast with Katie and Joe.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of This is a Good Movie podcast. I'm your co-host, Katie Hetledge, and here with me, right in front of me, I'm just staring at him, is...
Joe I need to... Joe, she doesn't even know who I am. She's gone face blind.
I thought you would want to say your own name.
Oh, I'm Joe Bates.
Yes.
Katie nodded. Katie nodded in response, which is great podcast movement.
I'm encouraging you.
You're doing a lot of body language stuff, which is, I mean, that's important in these things.
It sure is.
This episode might be a bit manic.
Why?
Katie and I are all over the place in our daily lives. That this might this might come off as just two people just holding it together by a thin thread.
Yeah, we're not doing well, but at least the world isn't ending.
Yep, that is.
At least there isn't.
I just got a notification. The world is ending.
There's a new ice age coming.
Yeah, no, no. It says here we're a hollow Earth, and I don't know what that means.
Is that a real thing? Like flat Earth? Am I supposed to know that reference?
Hollow Earth, yeah. Hollow Earth is another Earth inside the Earth.
Oh, Journey to the Center of the Earth?
Yeah, similar idea. Godzilla versus Kong. That is like the what's happening in that stuff.
Well, that's a movie we have not seen.
Oh, I guess I thought you saw all those Godzilla Kong movies that are coming out. There's like a Hollow Earth that Kong is in charge of.
I've only seen I've seen one Godzilla, and that's the one with Matthew Broderick.
Okay,
and I've seen
it's not even in the same
two
universe.
Kong movies, and it's the one with Adrian Brody and then the one with Brie Larson.
Yeah, so those are the Kong Skull Island one you saw with John C. Reilly and Tom Hiddleston, your big crush. Mm-hmm. That is in this world.
Sure. I don't remember it.
But
very
later
well.
on, the Hollow Earth is not mentioned in that movie.
Oh, it's just sort of subtle.
No, it's just not. It's what I said. It's not mentioned.
But it does exist.
I mean, they come out later. Yeah, it does exist.
But they don't know it.
They find out.
Interesting. Wait, how do they find out if it's not mentioned?
They go into the Hollow Earth. It's kind of bonkers, the Godzilla Kong universe that what's going on right now. I haven't seen the latest movie, but now they're like, King Kong's got a glove.
Wow. Exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. He's got a glove, and Godzilla's now pink. Which I don't know what that means. I don't know Godzilla lore.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Barbie?
Yeah, it probably is. It's Barbie Godzilla.
Godzilla Barbie? Maybe Godzilla Barbie because it's like Malibu Barbie, not Barbie Malibu.
Yeah, but it is Barbie Unicorn.
Okay.
All
Anyway,
right.
do you have some movie news for us?
Do I have some movie news?
I don't know. Do you? Do you look anything up?
I gotta be honest. Didn't we have movie news we're gonna talk about that we forgot what we were gonna talk about?
I remembered what it is.
Okay, so what was the movie news I was
share
gonna
the
bring
movie
up?
news. Okay, so we saw The Fall Guy over the
Fall
weekend.
Guy, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, now I got it from here, babe.
Great. Take it away.
The Fall Guy is a movie with Ryan Gosling.
That's not the movie news. I'm just saying what the movie is.
That was a little bit under their box office hope. They were going for 30 to 40 million. They got about 28 million. But
I'm going to go again. I'm going to see it a second time.
Bullet Train was also underestimated reviews the first weekend, but made up an international.
And that was directed by the same person.
Same guy. So I think The Fall Guy will do very well internationally because it doesn't really challenge anything.
Yeah, good point. I loved Bullet Train and I loved The Fall Guy. So, big fan.
So in The Fall Guy,
yes, okay. So now
very
this is
stunt heavy movie.
This is the news.
I love an ode to stunt actors that never get any love and any representation in any like award seasons or which there'll be an award next year in the Oscars for stunt performance.
I hope The Fall Guy wins.
I would imagine it did because it's the one that bring that Oscar to fruition. So it'd be very surprising for it not to win.
They could give it to Dune 2.
Ooh, yeah, it's gotta be
I
Dune
heard
2.
that all of the sandworms did their own stunts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Timothée Chalamet didn't. He's a baby.
Yeah, that was actually another sandworm dressed like Timothée Chalamet.
But like a baby sandworm.
Yeah, a baby sandworm. Okay. So in The Fall Guy, there's a couple stunts. One I know is a world record. The other one I'm not 100% sure about.
Okay.
So there is a stunt where they roll a car over, and the record for rolling a car over on a contained set where you're like meaning to do that is 7. And in this movie, they did 8.5.
That's very impressive. And as I was watching it, I was like, this is going on much longer than I'm used to in films. So
And, well,
good
when
job.
There's a tire falls off of it. I think you kind of oohed
Oh,
at
yeah.
that.
I like gasped.
The tire.
This movie really spoke to me.
There was also the car jump from the ravine. It was like 200 something feet they mentioned. I had to check. I don't really know, but I think that also was a record.
I don't know if it was because they cleared it pretty easily, it looked like.
It didn't look that impressive in the movie as much as you think it's supposed to.
It's no car roll.
The car roll looks impressive.
It is impressive.
What's also impressive is Ryan Gosling just doing uneven bars constantly in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, him and his stunt doubles are all very impressive.
He does his own stunts.
And I was most impressed that Ryan Gosling truly looks 25.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Katie has mentioned the older Ryan Gosling looks, the younger he looks.
It's
Or the older he gets, the younger he
25
looks.
is probably a stretch, but truly, if you wanted to make an argument in this film that Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt are both 30, I'd be like, yeah, but they are both in their 40s.
But like, think about the people you know. Me, I'm almost 40. I look like I'm 25.
No, you don't. Ryan
What?
Gosling looks younger than you.
Are you kidding? I will fight Ryan Gosling
And you'll
right
lose.
now. No.
He's got stunt moves now.
Oh, yeah, he's got stunt moves. You know what I got? The book. I'm going to throw
What?
the book at him.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's the movie news.
Movie news.
We still don't have a theme
We
song.
still haven't talked about Tom Cruise. Movie news.
What movie did we watch?
I don't fucking know. That's why I'm so fucking confused.
That's an I think you should leave reference, and the one that we make most often to each other.
I would say that, or I love wine.
I know. But I mean,
I'm scared of how much I love wine.
Listening to our conversations is like, wow, they really don't know what's going on because we're always like, that's why I'm so fucking confused. So funny.
And then we're like, I think you should leave.
No, we don't say that to each other.
No, to the people that are in our apartment that we don't trust.
Who is that?
Yeah, I know. That's why okay. What's the movie we watched?
Yeah, this is chaos. Just like the movie, we watched the 2004 Roland Emmerich film.
All my troubles seem
Blockbuster.
so far away.
Starring Dennis Quaid, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Emmy Rossum. It's the best movie of all time.
Jesus Christ.
The Day After Tomorrow.
I can't stress, Katie, if you're going into this conversation about this movie that this is the best movie of all time.
Okay, no, I'm not. But this is, I genuinely think, and I understand that this is partly due to nostalgia, but this is my most beloved disaster movie.
This movie, and I'm realizing right now as we speak, I'm having an epiphany.
Okay.
This is your Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, probably.
This is what this movie is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as good, and how could it, as Deep Blue Sea? Because no film can be as good.
Could and have watched it so many times.
You've watched it
growing
double-digit
up.
times.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think most people in their lives probably have like 5 movies in their lifetime they'll see double-digit times.
Yeah, this, School of Rock, those are the 2, When Harry Met Sally, those are the 3 I can say for sure. Wait, Pirates of the Caribbean, and I don't want to guess what.
You'll find out in the later.
Yeah,
probably
at some
whatever,
point it's definitely going to
if
come
we
to
have
me.
kids and do whatever the
it's
kid wants to
probably
watch.
The Lion King, because
Oh.
I logged a lot of hours with The Lion King at age 2. So that's like going to be tough to beat forever.
I mean, mine, just going on top of my head, what I think it is. So Dumb and Dumber, Deep Blue Sea. I honestly think I've seen Down Periscope like
What?
10 times.
What is that?
Kelsey Grammer, Submarine.
I haven't seen it.
Honestly, that's great news because Down Periscope is a banger. If I had to think, I've probably seen like one of the MCU movies like 10 times. Now I don't know which one that is. Probably Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
And if I had to think what the 5th movie was, I don't know yet.
It'll come to you. I also should
Brave Little
mention,
Toaster, like kid movies, I've
Yeah.
seen like a ton of times.
I would say also The Princess Bride is probably in my top 5. I don't know which of the films it would kick out, but I just need to note that because otherwise my mom's going to be like, but The Princess Bride is your favorite movie, and it is.
Yeah.
It holds the number 1 spot. So it would be kind of crazy for it not to be in my most watched.
Yeah, Brave Little
films.
Toaster and Milo and Otis is at 5th spot. I don't know which I watched more.
Anyway,
The Day After
The Day
Tomorrow.
After Tomorrow.
One of the most
We're
poorly
back
named
to it.
films of all time.
No, it's not. Okay,
Okay.
just some
The
quick
hoobastank of films.
facts. So, as I said, came out 2004. It's based on a 1999 book, but called The Coming Global Superstorm, which is a nonfiction
Oh my god.
book.
That's an even worse name for a book. Came up with the worst. Say that name of the book again for everybody to hear.
The Coming Global Superstorm.
Okay. Come on. You know that's a terrible name.
I'm just reporting the facts.
Oh, have you you know what I read for book club? The Coming Global Superstore.
Okay. The budget for this film was $125 million.
Yes.
Box office, $552 million. So all around a success.
It was, I mean, this is, if I had to rank it, and I will, I would say this is 6th best on return on budget of the movies we've shown so far.
All right. That seems correct to me.
And it is the 2nd highest box office next to Rogue One, which was $1 billion.
Okay. It got mixed reviews. I would say generally people like it, but there are some mixed reviews because of the science involved.
Well, that is like, I remember this movie coming out, and I remember like the talk about this movie after it came out.
Of like, can this really happen? Like that?
No, more like, this is a terrible movie.
No, well, those
That-
people are wrong.
I'm just telling you, I remember like people thinking this is like a really stupid movie when it came out. But this is what happens with most disaster movies. Most disaster movies are panned as like really stupid movies.
Yes, for sure. I will say that this film
Except Deep Blue Sea.
won a BAFTA.
Oh no.
It also won an MTV Movie Award, and there was another MTV Movie Award nomination.
Can
Now,
I guess what the BAFTA was?
Well, I was gonna have us talk about it and then circle back.
Okay. So
do you want to guess right now?
The way you're looking at me seems like I should wait and circle on back to it later. We can do that. We can circle back to it.
Okay, sounds good. So, what did you think this movie was before we watched it?
Well, similar to The Devil Wears Prada, I feel like everyone kind of knew about this movie and there was like parodies of this movie. So I sort of knew
Okay.
what the movie was about. And it's also like, you know, it's the world ending kind of thing, but it's not really what's happening. So I wrote, the world ends and people are trying to survive. I think there was a South Park parody where there was a big journey some people had to make.
There was a South Park parody.
Yeah.
Yes. Although, actually, the South Park creators, Matt and Trey, is that their names?
Matt Stone and Trey Parker, yeah.
They I read that they like got their hands on the script of this movie before it came out, and they were going to just do the movie with puppets, like word for word.
Oh my God.
And then ultimately they were talked out of it, I think, by their lawyer, who was like, this just isn't a good idea. It's not going to work. Like, this movie with puppets will not work. So don't bother.
They're maniacs. I mean, they're absolute maniacs.
Yeah.
They ended up, that parody focused mainly on the what the parody was an Alive parody as well. Mm-hmm. And the Alive parody was very funny with like the South Park citizens were stuck in a building and they had to stay there overnight because of the snowstorm. Mm-hmm. And 3 hours in, they go, "Oh, I'm hungry." And they eat 5 people that night because they can't last a night without eating.
Oh my gosh. And Alive is the film based on the
Society of the Snow.
Society of the Snow, same thing, of the soccer team in the Andes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yum, yum, yum.
No, not yum, yum, yum. Okay, did you say what you actually thought it was?
Yeah, the world ends and people are trying to survive, and then there's a big journey some people had to make.
Okay, yes. That's like pretty accurate. I'll just give a rundown. So our main character is Dennis Quaid. I think his name is Jack.
Big climate.
He is a climatologist. He's like something made up. I don't know. Maybe it's not made up.
Someone didn't read The Coming of the Global
I
Superstorm.
did not. But so it opens up. He's off doing research in like Antarctica.
It opens up. It doesn't open up with him doing research in Antarctica. It opens up with the longest fucking pan of the Arctic Sea.
With all the opening credits.
Yeah, the opening credits
But they
angled.
do it really cool.
No, I mean,
so
it's
that
cool because it's
the word
cold.
is like reflected on the water, like a shadow, like it's actually flying over, like it's a plane.
If you, and I mean, I wouldn't recommend anybody. If you, the reflection consistency is all over the place.
Because water is constantly moving,
Oh,
Joe.
You're right. That is.
You just don't understand.
That is true. And then it pans for, I would say, 18 minutes. I wasn't counting. And then it gets to them in the Arctic where there's just a big crack.
Yes. Okay. So I just want to give a synopsis of the film.
Yes, please.
Okay. So opens on him. Things go wrong where there's a big break in this ice shelf. He comes back to report to the UN that, you know, maybe there are going to be some issues. It's possible that if the North Atlantic waterway, I don't know, route doesn't have enough salt in it.
Yeah, there's an airstream.
It could trigger a new ice age. And then that pretty much is what happens. And we see that play out with a few different groups of people. We've got some Scottish scientists. We see things happening in LA, in Japan, although it's filmed in Canada. It also centers around this guy, Jack, and his family. He has a son who's in high school who's going on a school trip to New York, and so gets stranded there. We see things playing out in New York. His ex-wife, separated. Really unclear because they seem to live in separate places.
There seems to be a lot of unclear things happening in this movie.
Mm-hmm. She is a doctor at a pediatric hospital, so we see like her with her patients. We also have the government, of course, involved. You've got the president and the vice president and some of their scientists.
One of the most powerful vice president roles you've seen in a movie.
Yes, well, we can certainly talk about that because that was intentional.
I guess the year this movie came out.
So, yeah, everyone is dealing with this super storm slash ice age. And the kind of main like monster of the film, if you will, is this sudden freeze.
Coldicane.
That's on its way.
It's a hurricane of snow. A hurricane of cold.
Yeah, it's like a hurricane is happening on land all around the earth. Oh, we like see people up in space.
There's a space station thing that
they are cutting to everyone in this movie.
This movie, the scriptwriter for this movie was like, okay, I think I've got it. And then before he turns in, he's like, hold on a sec. I think I'm going to add a new group of people and tell their story. And he's like, you know what? Maybe one more. Actually, you know what? The mom, it'd be rude to not have a story about her too. And I think this is like my biggest issue with the film.
Oh, I like it. I like
There's
having
too
all these
much.
characters.
There's too much going on
okay.
that you are not getting in depth for some of the other stuff going on.
Yes, that's fair. I think there is a valid reason for it. But just to wrap up the
back to
synopsis
Calder
here.
Kane.
So everyone above like what would you say? Like above like mid Indiana is going to freeze.
Well, all of Indiana is mid. No, I think it's like Oklahoma and North.
Oh, really?
Is dead because they say in the movie parts of Texas and Florida.
Well, everyone in DC was going to be fine.
No, the president died.
In like a car crash, I thought.
Yeah, but what do you think's causing the car?
Okay. So sure, Virginia and up, they're a lost cause.
You said mid Indiana, then went to Virginia. I was like, it's Oklahoma, and you're all over the place.
I'm just trying to remember the map that he draws the line on.
Yeah,
But-
I think it's like Nebraska. It's like just north Oklahoma is where it shows whiteness. Mm-hmm. But in the movie, they specifically say that nowhere in America outside parts of Texas and Florida are okay.
Oh, okay. So they are evacuating the southern United States, and they're like, why aren't we evacuating the north? And Jack is like, they are done. They're not going to survive.
too late.
It's too late. But his son is in New York. So he treks out with his two research buddies to go to New York to find his son, who is holed up in the Central Library at Bryant Park, and save him. And so
Luckily,
they're trying to do that before the crazy freeze comes.
Luckily, they're trained in a set of skills, which is being cold.
Yep.
And I wrote early on, I go, this guy survived jumping an ice crevice. He might be our only hope.
I know. I was like, wow, what are the odds that the one person who knows all of the science and has all the physical capabilities for this is able to like go do this? And then I was like, oh, right. That's why the movie is about him.
Oh my God.
Right, that's why.
Oh my gosh.
It's not just about like a random person.
Katie has trouble with imagination in the sense that she screams randomly, going, there's a goose here. And I go, there's no goose here.
Well, not right now. You scared him off.
Yeah, it is. It's just tough because, fine, I love Armageddon. I love the movie Armageddon.
Okay.
Does it make sense to train oil drillers to be astronauts and not train astronauts to be oil drillers? No, it doesn't really make sense, but I'm on board. Mm-hmm. But this guy, he like warns everybody, and he's the only one that seems to kind of know what's going on. And he seems very important for how the world is going to change and how to fix it. Is like, I'm going to go trek across the thing that's going to kill us to go find my son.
Well, they don't really know that what he has suggested is what's happening. In fact, like he gives this kind of hypothetical presentation to the UN. He connects with that Scottish professor who's up there. And then the Scottish professor goes back to their weather
data collecting, temperature
station.
things.
And with his colleagues, they're like, whoa, these buoys that we have all over the world that are measuring temperature, we're suddenly seeing a lot of drops. And so then he calls Jack and is like, I think what you said is what's happening. And then Jack has to try and convince the government that that's the case, but they're not being especially cooperative. They're not letting him get into the mainframe, whatever that is.
Yeah, they need to. He's like, I have a PC and you got a Mac, and I need your Mac.
And even when he's like, we have to evacuate everyone in the South and like leave the North, they're still questioning him like, that seems harsh. Why would we do that? Blah, blah, blah. And then the vice president has to get a talking to later from the other government scientist guy who's like, hey, his son is in New York. Maybe think about that before you judge his intentions. And I was like, yes. Exactly.
I remember when you were a kid and you didn't think politicians were as dumb as they were in movies. That was a nice time. It was a very nice time. So let's talk about different sections because this movie has a bunch of different parts of it.
Yes,
so let's talk about like we'll start off like the cities that get destroyed that we see. like
Okay.
Tokyo and LA.
Yeah, so the first one we see is giant hail in Tokyo.
Yeah, I mean, disaster movies, I would say before 2010, if the world is going through a disaster, they love showing an Asian country get destroyed first.
I haven't really watched that many disaster movies, to be honest.
Man, okay.
So,
It's kind of like, well, I guess it's just 2012, the Mayan one.
yeah.
It shows like China just getting like destroyed.
Well, maybe that's just a Roland Emmerich thing.
That Roland Emmerich might hate Asia.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I haven't seen his newer movies, which is like The Moon is a Robot or whatever the
Yeah.
hell. All those things.
So we see crazy hail happening there.
Crazy hail. Kills a guy that they, in this, again, this is the issue. They give like a background
Yeah, I know.
this-
He's like calling his wife.
to this
He's getting
random
dinner.
guy. And you're like, is this guy important?
No.
No, he's just going to get killed in front of a young kid.
I think that there's two reasons why they do so much, I guess you could call it exposition. Or is it the opposite? Because they're actually showing things happen?
I think it's like character building or character development or...
No, it's not, because it's random people.
It's like they're trying to make these characters more three-dimensional, maybe?
No. All I'm saying is the reason that I think they show kind of these little vignettes is to show that this is a global.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why you have it the other side of the world, so you know everybody's going through it.
And it allows them to show some different parts of the storm, different phases of the storm, instead of just being like, how did all of this play out in one place? Now you can see how it played out in Scotland, in Japan, in LA, from space.
I just realized the LA thing makes no... Well, let's talk about LA, but I'm starting to realize that makes no sense.
Why?
Because why is LA having all this crazy shit before New York even gets snow?
Because the tornadoes happen before.
Okay, but the tornadoes didn't happen in New York. Is it just because that's what happens where they are?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just showing that weird things are happening because tornadoes don't normally happen in LA.
No.
But yeah, so we cut to this LA weather team.
With there's 4 characters we get to know stuff about.
A lot of characters in LA.
And it was at this point where I'm like, how many fucking people am I supposed to keep track of in this goddamn movie?
You don't really have to keep track of
I found that out.
Yeah. So it cuts to them and there's like some weird hail happening, and then it's that big hail that we saw in Japan.
And then
they're like on the
tornadoes.
beach trying to hide from the hail, and then so the weather reporter's like calling the guy back at the station who's like with his girlfriend. I don't know.
There's no reason for him to exist.
And then he's calling his boss to be like, hey, I think we have to put something out because like the weather's going crazy.
And there's a janitor there that's okay with this guy screwing this girlfriend.
He's just doing his job, listening to his music.
In a completely empty weather building.
Yeah. And then the boss of the weather station is like running outside to like look at we see all of these tornadoes, like 7 tornadoes going through LA. It destroys the Hollywood sign, it destroys Capitol Records, and they merge into one giant tornado.
2 tornadoes merged into one.
Everyone is dying.
And people are like, oh my God, they merged. And then like 4 other tornadoes merge with it. And now it's just
super tornado,
which again, there are no more tornadoes in this movie.
Just a special thing.
Just a special thing for LA where the
LA
janitor gets to open a door and see that half the building's been destroyed.
Yeah,
and
so
he
that's
barely
kind of
noticed it.
Well, he's like listening to his music.
Yeah, classic
and all of a sudden the
headphones.
building shakes, and then he sees the closed door that the weather person and his girlfriend were behind. Suddenly there's this eerie light coming out of it, and it takes so long for him to walk up that hallway and open the door. But I have to say, I loved it because like the suspense is building, and then all of a sudden the entire building is gone.
I knew okay, again, I'm not gonna argue with you now because I know what I'm arguing with is 8-year-old Katie.
Yeah, my mind was blown.
So I fully understand that 8-year-old Katie is who I'm talking to most of this movie. So I need to make sure and be mindful of that.
Yes.
I knew that building was gone. Like, I just knew it was gone.
Okay, well, watching it for the first time as a child, you don't know that, and
I know.
it is really surprising.
I understand. I get where you're coming from. I think, and then it was done, and I realized, because like the weather reporter guy gets hit by like a street sign.
He gets hit by a billboard that was, and supposedly, I haven't like gone back to actually look at that scene, but it's a Evangeline billboard.
Okay.
Do you remember Evangeline?
She did things.
That makes it sound like no, you
Oh
don't.
wait, is she she was like a famous person for being famous.
Yes. And they just had like a little mini series come out about
that's
her.
the only reason I know her, because of that miniseries.
Yeah, a couple years ago, and Emmy Rossum plays her, and then she's in this movie. It's just weird.
Small world.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's a little fun fact.
Yeah, a little fun fact for you. What are the other things? So we go up to space, and up in space, they see the storms
There's
playing
no fucking
out.
point for this. I was so excited when I saw the space station. I was like, space station, cool. They're gonna be like, how do we get back? I'm like, this is like a neat little thing.
They're just watching the world get destroyed
They don't
from
care.
afar.
None of them are nervous.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are worried about whether they can get back or not. They're just like, oh my god, look, it's a storm. That's interesting. I was like, if I was on a space station and I saw the world change weather from out there, that's something I've never seen before, and I'm finding out what's happening, I'm freaking the fuck out.
Well, maybe they just didn't show that part.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. No matter when you cut to the space station, I am just floating in the background. Going, what are we doing? What are we gonna do? What are
Okay,
we gonna
but
do?
also, like, no offense, but you're not an astronaut, and they have to really keep their cool.
Oh my god, are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
Look, as someone who grew up in Astronaut Beach Town, El Lago, Texas, yeah, they keep their cool. They're pretty cool guys.
Exactly. So maybe chill, like an astronaut.
Well, I can't. I fucking can't.
Anyway, there's also the helicopter scene. So there's like a British.
Oh my god, yeah.
There's like 3 British Army helicopters that are flying through some mountains,
This movie is mania.
and that shows when the super freeze happens in the UK.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, their helicopters start to go down because the like jet fuel has frozen.
Yeah, they're in the eye
Which
of the cold
has to be like, they said like negative 150 degrees or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so it goes down, and then these guys, you see one of them open the door of the helicopter to get out and see
Who is
what's
this
going
suspense
on.
for?
For everyone to remember it.
Okay.
And he walks out, and instantly, just like the woolly mammoth that was referenced one scene earlier, freezes immediately.
So here's a question.
So scary.
What you just did there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a bad movie you love.
No, this is a good movie that people enjoy watching
Okay.
and was well made.
All right. Okay. I don't think it was well made.
I do.
All right. I know.
I do think
under-
that.
I thought so. Sometimes people like schlock. You know, they like, this is stupid, but it's fun, and I'm really happy. Like the Sharknado movie, the first Sharknado movie, not the rest of them, but they were like, this is dumb schlock, but I'm enjoying it. It's a fun ride.
Yes, I understand the concept.
Okay. And you're saying this isn't that.
This is good.
Okay. All right. I'm just understanding where you're coming from on your views of the movie.
Do I think this is getting an Oscar?
Well, it
no,
didn't.
but it did get a BAFTA.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about what the BAFTA was when we circle back to it.
I'm just letting you simmer on that.
Yeah. I mean, I have an immediate guess, but I think what you're trying to make it out to be is I'm way off on this immediate guess.
We don't know. We'll never know.
Okay, so we're talking about we've talked about the different people that we don't care about that die in this movie, so we know that this thing can kill people.
That's not how I would phrase it, but yes.
Who do you want to talk about? What storyline do you want to talk about next?
I guess, you know what? Let's talk about the mom.
Perfect. Yes, the mom who, I gotta tell you, this lady has so much plastic surgery that her nose and up do not move in the entire movie.
But she is showing a lot of emotion. She's like crying and
But their face isn't moving.
it's a real like Get Out situation.
Yeah,
You can tell something's happening behind the
Yeah, she's
eyes, but like
getting
the
Get Out
face
and-
is frozen.
It's crazy. It's a maniac lady. If this person was my doctor, I would be like, I would say get out. That's what I would tell
Well,
that to her.
if this person were your doctor, you would be a child with cancer. So,
I would still stick with my guns.
because that's where she works. She works in the pediatric cancer ward
Mm-hmm.
and seems to be like the head doctor
Yes.
there.
Yeah. And it seems to be she works with a bunch of cowards.
So her whole thing, she has one patient, a little boy, who they like can't get a hold of his parents. They're
Yep.
trying.
Classic head doctor only has one patient.
No, she has other patients.
I
It
know.
just focuses on this one. And so this is a hospital in like the DC
Area.
area. So they have to
Metropolitan.
evacuate it. And so they've got like all of these ambulances coming, but they can't get a hold of this kid's parents. So they like can't move him. And then suddenly all the ambulances are gone.
Yeah. And this one lady's like, look, we got to get the hell out of
She's
here.
like, there's a police officer with a snowplow. I'm gonna go with him, but I don't know what you're gonna do. And she's like, well, I guess I'm just gonna say. And
She's like, they can't move this kid without an ambulance or he'll die.
Right, yeah.
So basically, he just has a ton of like IVs they need to be constantly rigged to this kid, which I don't know how kid cancer works. Just seems like a lot.
Well, I don't. It's probably accurate.
Yeah, and yeah, because this movie, if there's one thing this movie gets down right, it's accuracy.
Whatever.
So this lady is basically telling Dr. Mom, let that kid die. Let's get out of here. Like, what are we doing?
So she stays. She's like, I'm gonna stay. They had put in a call to like the local county ambulance service. And then much later, I mean, this is such a short storyline, but
It's crazy.
It takes place in like 3 to 4 scenes kind of over the whole movie. But ultimately the ambulance at like the last moment when it seems like the electricity is about to be shut off at the hospital, suddenly there's some noise, a flashlight, and the emergency ambulance services have arrived to pick her up.
I just fixed this. I'll get to my good takeaways, but I think I just fixed this movie.
Okay, great.
That kid has superpowers.
So, kind of a happy ending for that storyline. That's
Thank God.
good. We could talk about a less happy ending to a storyline, which is the Scottish weather researchers.
Did they show them? Okay, yeah. Well, let's talk about that, and then I
Yeah.
have a question on the ending of that.
Okay.
Okay, so what's going on with these Scottish guys?
Okay, well, so the lead guy we meet at the UN gathering in India because he talks to Jack and is like, I think that there's, it's really interesting, your research that you're working on. He goes back, he's got 2 coworkers. One, his only real trait is that he is a Manchester United fan. Is that right? Is that the right team? Yeah. So he's like cheering them on kind of throughout. He's watching the game. And then there's another guy who is a new dad because he references that he's like been up all night with the baby and stuff. And they're just kind of, chilling, suddenly realizing, these buoys are registering some 13-degree drops.
The airstream is off kilter.
So the main guy calls up Jack, says, I think this is what's happening. And kind of by the time they realize what's going on, I mean, the one guy thankfully sent his wife and kid off to, I think, Spain.
Yeah, he just sent them off.
He's like, send them off. And they were going to kind of stay put to like figure out what's going on. And unfortunately, by the time they figure out what's going on, it's like too late for them. They are in the Highlands. It's snowing. They're not going to be able to get out. And they pretty much like accept their fate that they're going to immediately freeze.
I wrote something about them specifically, which is these Scotland guys sacrifice themselves for some data. Can't blame them.
Oh, yeah, that is what happened. So Jack is like, we need to figure out what's going on. And they call him and they're like, we have all of this data to show what's happening all over the world, but we don't have the like computer system
Exactly.
to be able to do it. But if you can get into this government mainframe,
Yep.
you can do it. So that's what they go there to get all the
So
data.
they're
and
sitting
send
there
it to
waiting for them to get all the stuff to transfer over.
Oh gosh, that's so sad.
They didn't show them die, right?
No, it ends with them kind of being like, well,
Drinking scotch.
I guess this is it. They're trying to keep a fire going, and the fire goes out. And the new dad guy pulls out some 12-year-old scotch and is like, do you think this would light the fire? And the old guy is like, no, let's just drink it.
Now,
And they do kind of a final toast.
I would say that this storyline doesn't need to be in this movie, but those three guys are so good in it that I appreciate that. So in my rewrite, I am keeping the storyline.
Great.
Notice I did not say that about the pediatric cancer kid.
Fair.
Okay. This is how I'm going through this movie right now. Honestly, I might even take LA out of this whole story.
Interesting.
I think Tokyo stays.
Okay.
Okay. So that happens to them. Very sad. I really do like them drinking the scotch. I did think we would see them die. But the movie
I'm
was
glad
like,
we didn't. That would be way too sad.
yeah, most of the world's ending, but these three guys.
Now, honestly, and I'm being completely serious, I would like a sequel to this movie
No, the day after tomorrow after tomorrow.
that is set in present day of like, it's 20 years later.
Okay,
What does the world look like now? And I think that guy's baby could be the lead of the movie.
Okay, that's a big step.
I'm just saying.
He's just trying to find his cold dad.
No, I think
Yeah.
it's just an interesting focal point.
Now there's a fire cane coming from the south. And now we have Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is leading to Avatar: The Last Airbender.
No, it's not.
Okay. All right. Let's get into some of this meatier stuff in this movie.
You want to talk about Jake Gyllenhaal?
Love Jake Gyllenhaal.
It's interesting.
This is second tier Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie.
This was my like introduction to Jake Gyllenhaal.
Young
and I
Gyllenhaal.
think it's why I liked him for so long and really tried to stick with him. And now I'm at a point where the Gyllenhaals are not for me, and that's just okay.
Jake Gyllenhaal is one of the best actors out
I
there.
think he's kind of a crazy person.
Yes. Well, now you're talking about top tier Gyllenhaal. Top tier Gyllenhaal is crazy Gyllenhaal. That's like Okja. That's that John Mulaney special where he just shows up crazy. There is
That 911 movie.
that 911 movie that's Ambulance.
I don't know what it was called, but that was he was crazy.
Wait,
in that.
not Ambulance. You're talking about the one where he was like
He's a 911
crisis
operator.
call. Yeah. That movie was good. Did love that. 911 Operator was a good one, and he also is insane in the movie Parasite, which is a movie I'm probably gonna make you watch down the line.
Not the Oscar-winning Parasite.
No, yeah, there's another. Oh, I'm sorry, Nightcrawler. It's called Nightcrawler, not Parasite.
I don't think I'm going to like it, but
No,
great.
I don't know. I don't think you will, but it's a good fucking movie.
So I saw this Jake Gyllenhaal and I was like, I love him. And then never again did I really encounter this Jake Gyllenhaal.
love Jillies.
So maybe he was in like an Anne Hathaway movie. I don't know.
Second tier Gyllenhaal is young Gyllenhaal, the Donnie Darko Gyllenhaal.
But that's
This movie,
Bubble Boy.
Bubble Boy Gyllenhaal. Yes,
Yeah, that's
That
crazy.
movie-
That's a crazy movie.
that movie has no point to be as entertaining as it is. It's a terrible movie, but old Jillies, he sells it.
Okay, so we find out his character, Sam, he's like 17 and he's really, really smart, but has started to get some bad grades in school, kind of acting out, we think, because his dad is sort of an absentee father. And he joins the, what is it? Like the decathlon?
Quiz Bowl team.
Yeah, like quiz bowl team.
I did Quiz Bowl.
Cool.
Love Quiz Bowl.
So he joins
We
that.
did regionals, and out of everybody in regionals, I got the most questions right. I was MVP of the whole thing. We didn't win.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I'm a quiz bowl boy. Just so you know who you're married to. Probably one of the best quiz bowlers out there.
So he joins this team because Emmy Rossum is on it, and he has a crush on her. And then another friend is on it as well. So it's like the three of them going to New York, and they fly out and immediately hit turbulence, and it's very scary for everyone
I
involved.
thought that plane was crashing.
It's pretty intense turbulence.
Yeah.
And they are flying from DC to New York, so that's a short flight.
Yeah.
To have that much turbulence. Honestly, it is like intense when suddenly the like drink cart flies down the aisle and it almost hits that flight attendant. Scary.
Yeah, see, that's fun. Like, I get, like, that's, like, intense, and you don't really know what's going to happen, because you know Jake Gyllenhaal's going to live, but you don't know how he's going to live, right? But I like that. I wrote Jake Gyllenhaal as sexy Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we haven't watched Rushmore yet, but...
No, but that might be a bit. I don't know if you're going to like that movie.
Okay. So, they deal with some turbulence, but they make it through. They get to their little quiz. Seems to go okay for them. Jake Gyllenhaal gets a question right. That's very exciting. Then there's
the girl's flirting with another guy.
Well, so there's a little mixer afterwards at the host school, which is like a fancy New York school. And there's a boy who is on the team of the host school, and he's flirting with Emmy Rossum, and he's like, do you want a tour of the school? And she's like, okay, Jake, hold my drink. And yeah, so we think that this guy is going to be like enemy number one.
Yeah.
And then he ends up being like really nice.
Yeah, he's just a nice boy. He's like, oh, Jake, you like her? That makes sense. You guys live together. I barely know her. So why don't you like get together with her? And Jake's like, thanks, guy.
Yeah.
And the guy's like,
JD is his name.
JD is like, hey guys, I think I can get us out of here, but I just need to get my little brother, which they never get that brother.
I know. And the little brother's at a boarding school in Philadelphia. And I mean, at some point we see Dennis Quaid walk through Philadelphia. It's not looking good.
East Philadelphia, born and raised. This little kid just spent the rest of his days under snow.
Sad. Sad. Sad.
I wrote, I love major disasters hit exactly the most major cities. And then, yeah, so his dad, when he does the quiz bowl thing, his dad's like, you need to get the fuck out of New York. And Jake doesn't do it because he's like, I might get to kiss a girl.
I don't remember him saying that.
There's like a phone call they have earlier, but like Jake kind of says, oh, I'll be able to get with everybody tomorrow out.
Oh, yeah. He's like, take the train right now. And he's like, I'm getting the train tomorrow. It's all fine. Because now there's like a lot of rain and thunderstorms happening in New York, which is a little weird, but also that does happen. So
I mean,
it's
we
not
had
like,
flooded subways before.
Yeah, it's not that unusual. And he's like, you're overreacting. I'll head out tomorrow. But then, of course, things do get progressively worse. At one point, his friend Brian changes the TV channel, and it shows that like all of the flights are canceled, the MTA is down, like the train is down, like no one is getting out of New York. So everyone's like, okay, what do we do now? So JD very nicely invites them back to his like dad's penthouse.
Yeah, this nice flat.
And they only stay there for it seems like a few hours.
Yeah, what did I write? I go, fuck this rich kid that's normal with divorced parents. He's no Jake Gyllenhaal.
So they're like there for a bit, kind of getting settled. And then this guy's like, I gotta go get my brother. The driver is gonna come around. I can drop you all off like wherever on the way. And
they agree they need to go to the library to make a stop, right?
No. So they head out on foot. They take the stairs, even though they're at the penthouse, because the electricity goes out. So good call. So they're out there with all of their stuff, and it is just pouring rain. And suddenly it's like really flooding. There's just standstill traffic. I mean, they're up to like their waists.
Yeah, waist deep.
Going through this water. And I think it's just like they're trying to get to the car, but then they realize like that's not really going to happen. So then they're just trying to get somewhere. And there's a little instance where there's a mom and a daughter trapped in a cab, and so
Yeah,
Emmy
with
Rossum
the
has to
worst
help them
cop
out.
in the world.
I know. He's like, I can't understand you. It's like, well, just help.
Just fucking do it. Just like mime, hey, cover your face. Like, do that. Cover your face and then break the window.
Right.
Or reach in through the other window and unlock the door or do whatever they got to do. This guy's like, I don't understand you, so I guess you're going to die.
Yeah, it's awful. So they kind of run into her. Meanwhile, they're like, it's getting too crazy. The library's right here. People are heading in there for shelter, including this one homeless man with his dog, who is great in the film.
Mm-hmm.
So they are like heading into the
Wally
library.
dog.
While this is happening, we see, zoom out to the Statue of Liberty. A storm is a brewing.
Yeah. Snow.
No, not snow.
Rain.
A tidal wave.
Oh, yes, the tidal wave. Jeez.
So we see a tidal wave
So much in this movie.
hit the Statue of Liberty.
Too much in
Now, I
this
should
movie.
say, in actuality, that tidal wave would have knocked the Statue of Liberty over with its force. They chose not to have that happen in the movie because they liked the symbolism.
Yeah, they like the Planet of the Apes look.
Yeah. So that's that, just a note. But we see now this tidal wave is coming in to New York. And so it's coming up from the south. I mean, this library is at 42nd Street, so it's going to get there pretty quickly. And we see Emmy Rossum trying to help this lady. And then she does help, but then she has to go back to get that woman's passport.
Yeah, which, I gotta be honest, pointless.
Yeah, passports aren't going to make much of a difference after all this. But so she goes back to do that. And as she's doing that, two things happen. One, she cuts her leg.
Yes.
And two, the tidal wave is
Coming
barreling
at
down
ya.
the street. And so Jake Gyllenhaal runs out and is like, look at that. And they make it into the library just in the nick of time. Everything gets flooded. It's
And then
crazy.
they see a giant boat float by when they're stuck in the library. After
Oh, yeah.
everything's
While they're
flooded.
stuck in the library, suddenly a giant boat.
I wrote, gotta get on that boat. I thought, in my head there, I was like, okay, the only way you're gonna save yourselves is to get on that boat.
That makes sense.
And I was like, you need to get to the roofs and figure out how to jump to the boat, and then you stay in the boat.
But the boat gets stuck on that bus.
Yeah, the boat got stuck on the bus, which killed that one guy who's in a bunch of movies.
He's in Suits.
The rat face guy that everyone hates.
Yeah.
I wrote Jake Gyllenhaal, just a nice looking, very autistic kid.
Okay. I don't know about that.
I mean, he's definitely.
I think he's just a little awkward.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's all of these people hanging out in the library, just trying to keep their calm, and no one can get cell service or anything. So Jake Gyllenhaal is like, I know what to do. Are there any payphones here? He asks the librarian, and she's like, yeah, but all the power's out. And he's like, actually, old payphones get their power directly from the line.
I feel like you're just proving what I just said.
What?
He's a nice looking
No,
autistic
he's
kid.
on the quiz bowl team. He knows things.
Yeah, let me tell you something about Quiz Bowl kids. As one who are the best ones, we're not doing well.
So he goes
We're
down,
all
but
on a
of
spectrum.
course he and Emmy Rossum go down. They do see a payphone, but it's totally flooded.
Yeah.
And he just jumps right into
He
that
gets his
water.
calls. He gets his call in.
Makes a call to his mom and dad, tells them what's going on. They're like, stay put. And the dad is like, I will come get you. Stay put. You cannot go outside. Absolutely not. And he listens to him. He almost gets hypothermia from being in that water. Emmy Rossum thinks that he drowned. I mean, it's tense.
And they touch the bodies.
Yeah, so he has to take off his wet clothes, and then she just hugs him. I mean, she's still clothed.
Yeah, no, I know. And then, so this leads basically to the group of people led by the police officer like, we need to leave and go south. And Jake Gyllenhaal saying, we need to stay.
So it freezes over. It's no longer flooded. So now they see people walking outside. So they're like, oh, it's frozen over to a point that we can now walk on all of this water and we can get out. So now almost everyone, like 99% of the people in the library,
a lot of people.
head out. And Jake Gyllenhaal is trying to stop them, being like, my dad
He's a climatologist.
He's a climatologist. And nobody listens to him. There's like 3 other people that stick around.
I would not. I'll be fully honest. I would be going with the cop. I wouldn't be listening to this
Yeah.
18-year-old kid yelling, my dad is a climatologist.
Well, I think it's just like you want to be doing something. You want to be trying to actually get away.
Yeah.
But of course, things don't work out great for the group that leaves.
And Jake gets to have survivor's guilt to a crazy degree.
We see some of them freeze while they're out there. It's not good. They definitely made a mistake. But things aren't great for the group that stayed either. So we've got the 4 teenagers. Mm-hmm. We have the homeless man and his dog.
But here's my issue in making a movie. And I think we'll get to like what they do. In a movie that you're writing and you want to make it like entertaining, the choice to have someone stay put is not fun. That's not like entertaining.
I think they make it pretty entertaining because of the wolves.
They do with the boat. The boat saves that thing, but I always get nervous when like the move is don't go anywhere and people listen.
I think it's fine when you have so much other stuff going on.
Too much, yeah.
in the film. Okay, let's speed it up a little bit. So they're trying to stay warm. They're burning books. There's a whole discussion around Nietzsche. And
yeah, I like this. That side character, the guy who loves books and the girl who doesn't care that much about books but also loves books, they're great. I do love that little side paddle, keeping them in the movie.
So Emmy Rossum starts to get sick, and then we realize that cut in her leg got infected.
Yeah.
And so Jake Gyllenhaal is like, there will be medicine on the boat. If we can just get to the boat, we can get the medicine.
I Googled how close the nearest hospital was to the library, and it's 6 blocks away. So this is a sound strategy to get on the boat and not try to go 6 blocks. I wanted to make sure there wasn't like a CVS across the street.
Oh, sure. Well, that would have been underwater too. They don't have CVS's on the
They don't have mid-level.
Floor.
They don't have those CVS mid.
No. So he and his buddies, they go out to the boat. They find medicine. They find some food. Unfortunately, they also find some wolves that have escaped from the zoo earlier in the film, and they have to fight the wolves. That's a very scary scene.
It is scary. It is a scary scene. My issue with it is it's like many things in this movie resolved very quickly.
You got to. Time is of the essence.
But that's the problem. And that's why I think there's so many storylines that you can't like let these things linger. Because we'll talk about Dennis Quaid in this movie and his journey. There are things that really should have had more, like given more time.
Okay.
Because this wolf thing, he's like, okay, we're stuck in these wolves. Well, what I'm going to do is run out and they'll follow me and then we'll go out the back way. And they just do that.
Wolves are very simple.
I know wolves are very simple, but again, as a movie viewer, when you tell me what you're about to do and successfully do it, I'm like, okay.
Well, because the wolves are, one issue. The bigger issue is they got to get back inside that library before the super
cold.
freeze, because he realizes while they're out there, they're in the eye of the storm.
Oh, they're in the eye storm.
And that's not where you want to be.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, the JD, got bit by a wolf. So he is turning
into a wolf.
into a werewolf.
Yeah. This movie takes a crazy turn.
No, but they have to drag him back into the library on a lifeboat.
That was the part of the book they didn't bring to the movie where JD turns into a werewolf and coming of the global superstorm.
Yeah. And it's really a race against time. As they are running back to the room that they've all gathered in, you see the super freeze happening.
Yeah.
Which the makers of this film did say that is the most unrealistic part of the science. But it's also the scariest. So they were like, you know what? This movie is ultimately meant to be entertaining. So
we're never going to watch this movie because I refuse to watch this movie a second time. But The Happening with Mark Wahlberg, the wind pulls pollen, and if you take the pollen, you kill yourself.
Yikes.
So they see the wind and are running away from the wind, and that is all I could think about when they're running away from the ice freezing behind them.
It's freezing the floor. Have you ever seen ice freeze a floor?
I understand
That's scary.
What I'm saying is when that's happening, it's already too late. You can't run away.
Well, they do.
And they make a big fire.
They're like, keep the fire going, keep the fire going. The dog is really close to the door, and so thankfully gets called away.
Yeah.
But then it cuts out, so we don't really know what's going on with them until later. Jack Hall does come to find, he reaches the library, goes in, they all look like they might be dead, but they're
just
actually
sleepy.
just asleep. They're playing my
playing a
favorite
prank.
game of everyone pretend you're asleep.
Yeah.
And so they get rescued. They head out on foot because we're past the super freeze. They get picked up by some helicopters, and Emmy Rossum and Jake Gyllenhaal holding hands at the end of it. And that's kind of where we leave him. And he's all excited that his dad did come to save him. That's Jake Gyllenhaal,
So let's talk about
the main character.
Mr. Quaid himself.
Now, I know you didn't like him in this, but I
He
do
was a
like
terrible
him.
actor in this. I think he, of the main prominent roles that isn't the no-face mom, is the worst actor in this movie.
He's not a great actor, but what I do like about it is oftentimes in disaster movies, you have like Dwayne Johnson or John Cena, like someone huge.
Yeah.
And
he's
I
just a
like that
regular
this
guy.
is more of like a Harrison Ford type.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. God, like we haven't watched a disaster movie yet on this podcast, so I'm really glad you did pick this movie that like remind me of disaster movies that I do love.
Great.
Like Daylight, which is just a tunnel flooding. All right. I agree with you there. I don't want him to be a big buff guy that seems like he has all the skills. All he does is he knows how to walk in the cold.
And out he goes into the cold.
With a good supporting cast of characters. These two other guys.
Frank and Jason.
They should have brought the lady with them.
The
'Cause
NASA lady?
what was the point of her joining the group and then just saying, I'm with you guys, bye?
I think she helped out with some computer stuff, but
Like-
she doesn't have the ice experience.
I understand, but what I'm saying is like, I wrote something about side characters. Let me pull it up. I can't wait for the heroic list of events needed to be done by the side characters, because that is a great part of disaster movies, where you build up a bunch of characters like this movie has, and each side character has like a heroic thing to help the main characters accomplish the goal that they're doing. It is like a bunch of sacrifices along the way to the ultimate sacrifice or ultimate goal.
Okay, well, there is one of those that takes place.
Agreed. There is one of those that takes place.
So we can talk about that.
Yes.
Okay, so they head out. They're in their snowshoes. Well, they head out in the truck, but unfortunately it crashes into some snow. So then they're like, we have to walk the rest of the way. Now, the amount of time that it's going to take them to walk this doesn't make any sense. Because
When they get to Philly, because they drive the car from DC to Philly, which is like, I would give them 3 hours
okay,
with traffic or with the snow, I guess.
I don't think that's relevant. Just go on.
And then they walk, and that's a 90-mile walk
Yeah,
from Philly to New York.
that's so long. So for
In normal weather right now, Google Maps said that would be a day walk.
90 miles?
Yeah, it would take 1 day to walk it.
Okay, well, that's walking for, I guess, 24 hours.
Yeah,
That's not going to happen.
that is true.
Like, okay, for context, when my sister and I walked the Camino in Spain, our longest walk in one day was 19 miles. And that probably took us like 9 to 10 hours.
And that was in the snow?
in beautiful weather.
Oh, beautiful weather.
So let's round up to 20 miles, 10 hours. I mean, that's just not happening. It's going to take them multiple days to get there. But the sense of time in this movie, and maybe they're trying to cover up for all of that by going to all of these other storylines and jumping around. So, like, we're just confused. But yeah, something doesn't quite add up about the amount of time it's taking them to walk through the snow.
But you know what? I have no issue with that.
Okay.
Like that to me, I'm like, fine. They just do it. Like, I don't care about like the actual knowledge of that. They're walking, they get there, things happen along the way. I can get over the timeline things. I don't know why I'm more comfortable with that than I am with other things in this movie.
That does seem strange because, like, there are just so obvious of physical limitations and, like, the reality of how time works. Whereas, like, science is a bit more ambiguous.
Yeah, I guess. I'm just saying, to me, I'm like, whatever. They got to get there. They get there. I don't care about that.
Okay, so they're walking now, and we realize they're walking on the roof of a mall, the weakest glass roof to ever exist,
Yeah.
because it starts to crack, and Frank falls through the ceiling.
And he hangs there. And this, I'm not going to lie, this entire scene takes less than 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a noble scene.
Yeah, it's really sad.
So he gets down. He has like the sled of stuff they're carrying with them behind him. So he cuts that quickly.
Yeah.
And he notices the glass is breaking.
Yeah, so Jason is up there trying to like hold his weight.
Great character. Love Jason.
And his like hands are bleeding. It's so sad. And so Dennis Quaid's like going to come back and save him, but the glass just can't hold. And so Frank, who has been working with Dennis Quaid for like 20 plus years, is a good friend, sacrifices himself and cuts himself free. And then the two of them continue on their journey.
Yeah.
Very sad.
And they don't show the guy. They just show him cut, and that's it. And again, okay with that. But my issue, like most of this film, is I thought Frank and who's the other guy's name? Jason. I thought Frank and Jason were giving some development in this movie to be like, I know the relationship with Dennis Quaid. I appreciate what they do for each other. I needed like one more scene where Frank's like, hey, we can't do this for your son. Like fights against them, but then decides to go with him, to support him, which makes his sacrifice like an even bigger deal.
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid does not seem to have any regrets.
No, he's sad. There's sad moments in the tents afterwards.
I guess, but it seems like every issue gets resolved very quickly to go to the next thing.
Well, yes, time is of the essence.
Yes, because they've spent so much time on random scenes they didn't need to.
Okay, so they continue on
Yes.
and suddenly realize, they too are in the eye of the storm and a sudden freeze is about to happen. And unfortunately, Jason has like broken his leg or something. Or no, he didn't break his leg. He is just like passed out because he's like
exhausted and he cut his hand, so he's like bleeding.
So Jack is like pulling him along and realizes what's about to happen. And so finds like a Wendy's and breaks through the like roof and dumps Jason in. And then it's about to jump in right after him. And as he does, we see this like iconic scene of the American flag freezes in midair. And then he jumps down. And then we see that it ended up being okay. He set up the tent and turned on the gas stove so that they had fire going. So they survived the sudden freeze.
Again, the fuel lines froze on the helicopters, but the gas line in the stove is fine.
Because it's indoors.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I'll take that.
So then they continue on and they make it all the way to New York.
And it's buried under snow.
The library is buried under snow.
Which is good. Honestly, that is very good for the people inside the building because now you've insulated with snow. It's how igloos work.
Okay. Yes.
I'm now I do science. You're like, fuck your science. I don't care about it.
So they find them. Everyone gets rescued, and it's happily ever after. They all go down to Mexico, and the U.S. president, who then did die, had previously forgiven all of Latin America's debt, and that's why they are now accepting refugees from North America.
I'll be honest, that was gonna be forgiven if it wasn't forgiven or not. But I think we're skipping over something real quick. Is that when Dennis Quaid runs into that room, Jake Gyllenhaal responds, "Hi, father."
Oh yeah, that is weird.
That's so creepy.
No one talks like that.
Hi, like you've been desperately waiting to see this person. Hi, father.
Well, he's just weak and his brain isn't working anymore.
And then I wrote, great, he's there, so fucking what? But then helicopters show up, and then you get to see that everybody in New York City, a lot of people in New York City stayed in the buildings and are being rescued by these helicopters. So then I wrote, I guess fuck any other city outside New York City. Portland, Maine could just go fuck itself. Because they're just you can't have that many helicopters to fly to all these places.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they did prioritize New York a little bit because he was up there, and
Yeah, they
they
need
kind
this
of
guy.
owed him.
And
Got the vice president, now new president's okay on it.
who the vice president really only changes his tune when he finds out the president died, and he has a moment he's like, oh my god, the climate's all messed up. Just because the president died. You seem to not change his tune the entire time.
Yeah. So the vice president in this physically bears a resemblance to Dick Cheney. And that was intentional because this was in a little ways a criticism of, I guess, the Bush administration's climate policies and their like criticism of the Kyoto agreement or whatever. So if you're like, is that on purpose? It is. So there you go.
Yeah.
Question answered. Speaking of questions answered, what do you think they won their BAFTA for?
Best visual effects.
Yeah, that is correct.
Not nominated for an Oscar for best visual effects, though.
No, it wasn't. It featured 416 visual effects shots through 9 different effects houses and over 1,000 artists working on the film for over a year.
And you were a kid when you watched this, so I would assume the visual effects look good.
I think they still look good.
I don't think they still look good.
I think they still look pretty good.
Okay, well, that's a matter of opinion, but I disagree.
Okay. They did also win an MTV Movie Award for Best Action Sequence, and it was for the tornadoes in LA.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't know all the movies that came out that year. This is, what year was it, 2004?
And now they don't do that award anymore. It was the last movie to win that award.
Yeah, tornadoed its way out of there.
Yeah.
We can't beat 5 tornadoes together.
And Emmy Rossum was also nominated for Breakout Star.
That makes sense. So that's the one I was thinking the MTV would be about, like Jake Gyllenhaal or the girl being like a breakout star.
It was going to be, that role was going to be played by Lindsay Lohan, but she had to back out because of scheduling conflicts, which is only interesting because Lindsay Lohan and Dennis Quaid are in The Parent Trap together.
Was her twin sister not available?
Who would you have Wally play in this?
Who I would have Wally play in this movie? Honestly, it'd be one of the Scottish guys. It's sad, but I feel like he fits in. Not the old guy, not the black guy. The one guy who likes Manchester United the most.
Yeah.
I
he
think
could
that's
play
what I'd
that.
have. Yeah.
For sure. Do you have any additional good, bad, or normal takes? I feel like you've kind of shared a lot of your thoughts at this point.
I'm gonna just write my normal takeaway first. I'm gonna
Okay.
end my good takeaway, which is like fixing this movie.
Okay.
My normal takeaway, it's crazy FEMA is in this movie, realizing what year this happens, because in a year, the entire country is about to hate FEMA because of Hurricane Katrina. Katrina has not happened yet, I don't think.
Yeah, they should have really taken heed of the warning that this film is.
Because I did think when I watched it at first, like, oh, FEMA's like trying to get in the good graces of like helping people. But this was before FEMA got in the bad graces of everybody. My bad takeaway, well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. My bad takeaway is that the space station should have exploded for some reason. Those guys should have died. I really understand the point of the space station. I feel like they should have died.
It's so they can get the cool shots from outer space.
Yeah, I get
of the
it.
planet before,
I get
during,
it.
and after.
The good takeaways. Here's my thought. Katie, stick with me. Let me know what you think.
I'm really fading here.
Okay, well, it's too bad. You got to stick with me because I've been waiting to say this and I held off on it, all right?
Okay.
So you take away the mom storyline. You take away Tokyo, you cut LA down by half. Those scenes. You have the vice president be a little bit more prominent,
Okay.
being anti-climate change.
Okay.
And you have Frank, Jason, Randy, Dennis Quaid, and the Asian lady have more of like building up their relationships with each other. I don't think you need to change any of the Jake Gyllenhaal stuff.
Okay.
So you build this up. The vice president has now been told by his security advisor that they need to like shoot a nuke off to like slow down the ice storm, and that it will warm people back up. Like their plan is to do something crazy to send a nuke out to heat things up to counteract the cold.
My face is very skeptical right now.
The president dies, the vice president gets to like do this, but now the Asian lady and the mom are still around the vice president the whole time, and they are doing everything they can to halt them off. So you're now like building the story here of like time is of the essence on this side of things, so that when you have sacrifices of people like going to get the journey to Jake Gyllenhaal, and right before he calls it in, they get the call. Dennis Quaid's like, I found my son. There's people in New York, and they have to cancel the thing. So the vice president is like the evil presence that can make this thing worse than what it is.
Gotcha.
Instead of the vice president going, oh, I was wrong. Bye. I feel like this is the problem. The problem with the movie is there's like not an extra 5 minutes for building characters and storylines, and there's... What?
There is a cockroach under the couch. It came out, and I saw it and freaked out, and then you freaked out, and then it went back under the couch.
Oh, fuck.
Well, sorry. I don't know how I'm supposed to react to that.
I thought I just gave a great... Okay, we'll get this done with, and then I'll deal with the cockroach.
Ugh, I hate this. This is why we're moving.
I'm glad we got that recorded. Cockroach just came out right next to me, and Katie freaked out. Holy moly.
I thought it was going to go straight up your butt.
Yeah, by the way, I got no underwear on or anything. My butthole is just wide open for cockroaches, I guess.
I'm so nervous.
All right, well, that's my good takeaway.
Okay, well, you can rewrite it. Let's do a remake.
Yeah, let's do a remake.
A remake and a sequel at the same time and see who wins.
Okay, well, that's our plan.
What are we... Oh, I already know what you're going to say, but it's the title of the podcast. So, Joe, is this a good movie?
Katie, I love you very much. And... you really gave me more of a benefit on Frank than I thought you were going to give me.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not a good movie.
Yes, it is. You're wrong.
This is just not a good movie.
No, you're wrong. It is a good movie. People like it.
There's potential for it to be a good movie.
It is already a good movie.
But this is not a good movie.
It is. It is. You're wrong, and I'm going to remember this, and I'm going to hurt your feelings in the future.
Oh, great. Awesome.
I'm going to wait for you to present one that you really, really love.
Well, you could have done that last week.
Yeah, but I was feeling nice.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we watching next that I'm already prepared to hate?
This isn't combative. I didn't think this podcast would end up like this. Just fear and anger and cockroaches. Yeah, next week, I'm excited for the one Marvel movie that's coming out in 2024, Deadpool vs. Wolverine. And I believe this movie will have some influence in it. You have never seen it. You've seen the other two Deadpool movies.
Yeah.
Thank you for nodding, yes. So we're going to watch, Logan.
Okay,
Which
great.
is Hugh Jackman's last movie in the X-Men franchise.
We're going to watch Logan. Do you know where that is on?
Logan is on Disney+.
Okay, fantastic. We're going to watch Logan on Disney+, and we hope you all will join us in doing that. So this was another good movie podcast. We appreciate everybody listening, and we appreciate our podcast editor and theme song creator, Kale Forbes, theme song vocals from Austin Fry, and our logo from Carrie Pulley. If you want to hear more from us, what we think about movies that we're watching, just follow our Instagram at TIAGMpod. You can find our personal Instagram handles there too. If you want to email us, feel free at tiagmpodcast@gmail.com. It's always super helpful if you can follow, listen, subscribe, comment, share, rate, review, any of that stuff, any interactions, huge help. Subscribing is the number one thing. So if you got to pick one, I guess do that. I'm Katie Etledge.
I'm Joe Bates, and I love you, Katie, very much.
We love you. Bye.
Oh, fuck.
This is a good movie podcast with Katie and Joe.